For years, if you wanted to work with Salesforce, there was one door in. You logged in, you opened the console, you clicked through the UI, the user interface. That was true whether you were a developer or an admin, and that's no longer the only way in. Salesforce just opened up the back end, the data, the workflows, the permissions, so you can reach it from wherever you already work. If you're a developer, that might mean your coding tool of choice. If you're an admin, it might mean you're staying exactly where you are using natural language instead of code. Same platform, same governance, two completely valid ways to build. In this video, I'm going to walk you through Salesforce Headless 360 and how to use it. And by the end of this video, you'll understand what's actually changed under the hood, and I'll show you what it looks like live, building a working agent using nothing but a conversation. Let's crack on. The first thing that we'll do, we can go through to Trailhead and we can sign up for the playground that gives us access to be able to build this agent. And once you've signed up, you'll be presented with this here. This screen here is going to allow us to build an agent using natural language, and it's going to be using Claude Code to help us do that. By using natural language, we'll build the agent and then we can deploy it through to Salesforce, having used Claude Code's tools. So the sorts of things you can do with this, you can automate workflows, you can build agents, you can also get Claude to integrate with external systems via APIs. So this is a really useful feature. You can build it using Claude and then deploy to Salesforce, hence the Headless 360 naming of it. So the first prompt that will pop into this box down here is ask it what kind of agents can you help us build? Great, and it's come back saying it can build all kind of service agents from hotel concierges to support bots. So we actually want it to advise us based on the data that it's got to help us build the agent that's most relevant to us. So we'll ask it the question, what kind of service agents are good to build for a hospitality company? And it will advise us on that. So it's come back with a few here, bookings and reservations agents, guest concierge agent. So these are all based on what is good for hospitality, and it's coming back with those recommendations. So what will pop in here is another prompt saying, let's go with the reservation agent, and we'll give it the bookings help agent API name as per this part down here. And as you can see here, Claude is working through the steps. So it's understanding what it wants us to do, it's preparing the agent script, and then it's generating the code so we can then deploy it through to Salesforce. And here's the code that it's written to help us create that agent that's going to help us with bookings. And then it gives us a bit of a summary as well as what is actually in this code. Because again, this is natural language and it's helping us build the code in and then also simplifying it into natural language so that we can understand what it's actually built via the code. So you can see here, we've got system instructions, we've got the configuration, we've got the start agent. So this is essentially the trigger. If someone asks a question, it will make sure that it goes through to that agent. And then the sub agent, if you're an old school Salesforce user like me, you'll know these as topics as well. And these were renamed. So we've got the two topics here, or the new sub agents, the reservation management and the guest complaints as well. So there it's got those two different things that it can help us handle. So with natural language, in this instance, we're using Claude Code. So we've got system instructions. This gives us the agent's personality. If we wanted to, we could update this and make the personality slightly different just by telling it how we want to update the personality. And then Claude Code would take that on board. It would update the instructions and the build so that it reflects exactly what we want to get out of this agent itself. So again, just remember when you're building this using natural language, the first prompt and the first response is never the ending point. It's through iterative updates that you can make sure that you get the agent that you want and that you need. And then you can go through and do further testing to make sure it gives you the outputs that you need. So this looks good to me. We'll pop in here, deploy it, and then that will actually deploy it to our playground. And this is great. It's gone through all of the steps that we want it to do. It's activated it. We can go through and check into our org now to make sure that actually that has been deployed. And here we can see bookings help agent. This is the one that we've just deployed and built using Claude Code using the Headless 360 framework. So once we're in this main screen, we can do a few checks to make sure that it's been activated and it's ready for use. So we're going to the agent itself from Agentforce Studio, and we can see up here we've got deactivate. So we know that it's live and it's ready to use. And from here, we can do those iterative updates as we spoke about before. So the next thing we'll do is create a new version. And we're going to customize some of the sub-agent details in this section here. And we're going to add in some actions. So actions are the tools that sub-agents can use. So when you ask it a question about reservation, it will locate this sub-agent. It will then use that sub-agent as part of the process. But we need some actions. So actions are the tools that it would actually use. So the first thing we're going to do is add in finalize reservation. So when someone's interacting with this agent and they ask it to book and finalize a reservation, the sub-agent has got the tools using this action to actually complete that. And we'll also add in the get reservation time slots as well as another action. so that it can confirm what time slots are available before it does the finalization of the reservation itself. So we've added those to the agent. We've got the sub agent here, and we've got the actions, which are the tools that it can then use to execute on the requests of the user. Then we can go down here, guest complaints. So someone might have a complaint, and we're going to give the agent the ability to help a user if they do have a complaint. So we'll click on create case, allowing the agent to create a case for Salesforce so that we can track that complaint itself and manage that person's complaint. So now we've finalized those actions within those sub-agents, we'll click on save, we'll allow it to save, and then we'll click on commit version up here in the top right-hand corner, and we have our updated agent. And then let's click commit version, and then we'll need to activate it as this is the new version. Then the next really important step is to go through and do the testing. So we're still in the Salesforce Studio within this agent itself, and we'll click on preview, and then we can interact with this agent and test it to see if it gives us the outputs that we're expecting. And if not, we can then go and make the updates that we need to ensure that it does give us that experience that we're looking for. So let's have a look. What times do you have for the fine dining restaurant tomorrow? So you can see here in the middle, we've got the preview settings, and this is telling us what the agent is running through when we ask that question. So reasoning, reservation. So you can see here it's selected the right topic, reservation management, and then the action is get the reservation time slots. So we can see that it's carried out those actions and what is the thought process that it's gone through. And then we'll ask it to book the latest one for us. Again, it will then use that same sub-agent to ask us, yes, I'll book the 4 to 5 p.m. slot for us, which is great. That's what we've asked it to do. And then we'll give it the details that it's asking for. And then once we're happy with that reservation, we can say, yes, that's great. And then again, it will work through that flow, the reservation management sub-agent, and it will actually book that reservation for us. And you can see here, it's switched across to the finalized reservation action that we also added in here on the left-hand side. So again, we've worked through that process of using Headless 360 to build it in Claude Code. We've then deployed it to Salesforce, and then we've used the Salesforce UI to then tweak and refine and test this to make sure that it actually does what we need it to do. And if it doesn't, we can then make further tweaks within the UI, or we can go back to Claude and we can use it to do the tweaks as well. So there's a bit of an overview of what Headless 360 is and how it also interacts with the Salesforce UI and where you might use both to make sure that you get the outputs that you really want. So here's where that leaves you. If you're a developer, you keep the tools you already know and you get direct governed access to everything Salesforce has built. If you're an admin, you get to build real working agents without needing to write a line of code. Neither path is the fallback version of the other. They're both the real thing, just suited to how you already work. Where you go from here depends on which side of that split screen you're on. If you're technical, it's worth exploring inside your own coding tool. If you're not, the conversational based builder is worth opening up and just trying with something small. And as always, make sure you do thorough testing and always run it past an expert who can vet the code and make sure that it does exactly what it's saying it's doing in the back end, in the coding. If this helped you, subscribe for more weekly deep dives and check out my other video linked to above here, where I break down Notebook LM and how to turn any set of documents into an interactive research tool. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.